introduce myself, I'm Aditi Gosavi, Senior Advisor with the DAAD, German Academic Exchange Service. I am not sure how much you know about the DAAD, but DAAD is a German organization funded completely by the German government. And the important tasks of the DAAD involve number one, scholarships. We award scholarships. Number two, giving information about study and research scenario in Germany. And number three, supporting Indo-German academic and research cooperations. Of course, the DAAD exists not only for Indo-German cooperations, but it's a German body and does similar tasks all over the world, so similar work all over the world. So wherever German academia and research is concerned, you will find the DAAD there, which also goes to say that being a government-funded organization, we do not charge any fees for any of the services or information that we provide. Having said that, I'm very happy to say that today I'm joined for this webinar by a colleague from ProRecognition. Isabel, may I please request you to join us on the video so that everybody can see you? Yeah,
hi,
welcome,
good afternoon,
Isabel.
Everyone. Thank you, Aditi.
Yeah. So Isabel here works for an organization called basically, let me correct, on a project called ProRecognition, a project by the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce with the support of the German Ministry of Education and Research. So what will we do today? So the idea is that I will start with giving an overview of what it is like considering medicine in Germany after completing one's MBBS. There are two different routes that I will talk about at length, and on the way of one of the two routes, what exactly the steps are and how exactly you can walk along that route will be explained by Isabel. Is that right, Isabel?
Exactly.
Right, so right now you see us both on the screens. I have to tell you that very soon we will switch our cameras off because we believe that the information that will be on your screens in form of the PowerPoints is more relevant and is of more importance. And the internet bandwidth is what we all know is not always 100% reliable. So to keep it simple, during the presentation, we will have the PowerPoints, and then after the presentations, we can again switch to the cameras. Yep. So having said that, I'm already switching myself off, my camera off. And thank you, Isabel, for joining us. Once I'm through with the initial introduction, I will invite Isabel for the special inputs. So with this introduction, I move on. Yeah. When you registered for this webinar, you saw medicine in Germany, and we did say after MBBS. So I'm assuming that a majority of the participants today have already completed their MBBS. But if that is not the case, then for those who have taken the efforts of joining us here, I would just very briefly tell those people who are just out of their school or parents who intend to send their or whose children insist that they would like to go to Germany to do their medical education, that the route is somewhat different. A school leaving certificate from India is not recognized in Germany as being at par with theirs. So what one needs to do is to learn some German language, then attend 1 year-long preparatory program called the Studienkolleg, at the end of which one writes an examination. One's performance in the examination defines whether or not one can apply or whether or not one gets a seat in a medical program at one of the German universities. I would like to state here that admission to any medical program in Germany is extremely difficult, pretty much the way that it is in India. And then the program begins. Then there are about 3 state examinations that one takes, and finally one gets the medical license. So that's how a typical course would look like for someone who has finished schooling in India. Coming to what we actually promised to deliver today is the part where we talk about after MBBS from India, what can a doctor do in Germany? Very clearly speaking, there are two things that one can do. Either one can get into research in medicine and or allied fields. And the second option is, of course, one has a practicing license or one is a doctor in India, one tries to be a doctor in Germany as well. So basically get a medical practitioner's license or possibly do a specialization and then eventually practice again. So I will first cover the number one option here, research in medicine and allied fields. As you would know, Germany is a country that gives a lot of importance to research. And it also happens to be one of the unique countries wherein more than 2/3 of research R&D investments actually come from the industry. So research is really at the top when it comes to priorities of a country. And so I would like to introduce you to where all research takes place in Germany. Germany has a number of universities, over 450 of those, and a lot of research takes place in universities. Similarly, there are also non-university research centers. Talking about universities, unlike many other countries, teaching and research, they go hand in hand in Germany. Universities have a very strong research orientation and a lot of interdisciplinary research takes place. So if research is what you intend to do, then universities would be one of the many destinations that you would consider. The second part are, of course, the non-university research institutions. I've mentioned a few names here, the Max Planck, the Helmholtz. I mentioned them because these happen to be the largest umbrella organizations encompassing various institutions or single institutions under them. And though they do varied research, all of these organizations are very active in research that concerns medicine. Just to give you a few examples, the very first is the Max Planck Institution. It is an organization or organization known for its fundamental research. And if you take a look at the subject fields that you see that they deal with, starting from disease to genetics to cancer to biomedicine, neurology, psychiatry, think of any subject field or any field, and then you will surely find a Max Planck Institute dedicated to that. Similar is the case with the Helmholtz Association. I will not do much talking, but then what you see on your screen here, so neurological diseases, molecular medicine, infection, you find a variety of research themes being dealt with by the Helmholtz. Coming to the Leibniz, again, an organization with over 80 institutions, and it focuses on various aspects of medical and human studies as well. And then we come to the Fraunhofer Institution. Now, what makes the Fraunhofer Institution a little different from the previous ones that we talked about is the fact that they do commissioned research. So the research is given to them, the themes are given to them by either the government or by the industry. So it's a lot of contract research that takes place. And then there is a plenty of scope for medicine and related research as well. Besides these four institutions, there are a number of research organizations that are either standalone or have smaller clusters of 4, 5, 6 institutions that are also active in medical research. I agree that this overview was a very brief overview, but then when we talk about research, it's very difficult to say, well, this is the line of research that you can pick up. I understand that those amongst you who are keen on research will have something or the other in their minds, and they would need proper databases, which we have developed, where they can find more information about all these schools, about all these organizations and institutions that we mentioned. If you visit the DAAD website, you will very easily be able to locate these databases from where you can see what kind of research is going on in the field that interests you. With this, we move on to the part B of our presentation, wherein you are through with your MBBS, and what you are looking at is A, either practicing in Germany, or B, specializing in certain field in Germany, and then eventually practicing possibly. To know what steps one has to take as a doctor from India wanting to go to Germany for any of these purposes, you need to know, or it would be helpful to know, how medical education takes place in Germany. So just like in case of India, medical education starts right after school. The first 2 years are known as the preclinical phase, where one focuses on natural, scientific, and medical studies, the fundamentals thereof, at the end of which one takes an examination called the Physicum. It is conducted by the state. After these 2 years, one moves to the main phase, where core subjects are taught through lectures, practicals, seminars, and so on. And corresponding to this stage, there are also the medical examinations that take place. Then comes the practical phase, the stage 3, which is actually when clinical training takes place, internal medicine is studied, a certain elective can be chosen, and at the end of that, one appears for the third medical examination, again conducted by the state, which completes one's education and training as a medical doctor in the German context. Followed by completion of this examination, successfully clearing this examination, what one goes for is the approbation, which is actually the practitioner's license, the medical license. So after this first approbation, after getting the medical license, one is allowed to work as a doctor in Germany. However, one is not yet a specialist. And then what begins is the specialization, if one so desires, which in German is called Facharzt, takes about 5 to 6 years to complete. So I hope this structure gives you a fair idea of how long a training or a medical training typically lasts in Germany, and including the specialization, it is a bit longer than what one has in India. Moving further, what does the structure that I just shared with you mean to an MBBS from India? First of all, what one needs to know is that an MBBS degree from India, though enables one to practice as a doctor within India, does not do the same thing for Germany. One still has to get involved in the study rhythm of the German university or Universitätsklinikum. And then what one gets is what one refers to as the lateral entry. So after an MBBS from India, one typically enters the stage 3, the practical phase of the German medical training. Then is at that point of time, what one also needs to get is a Berufserlaubnis, which is like a work permit, so that for that duration, one can work together with patients under supervision. So this is not a stage yet when you can work on your own as a doctor, but you are training for that. So at this stage, it has to be the supervision that you need. So you need a learner's license, so to say, to put it in common language. And where and how exactly to go about it will later be shared with you by Ms. Yenninger. Another very important point to note at this stage is that language is important, which means that though we talk about the international programs that Germany offers, that hasn't really reached the medical education in Germany. So one has to speak German to be able to get involved in medical education in Germany. So before one starts, or when one applies for the Berufserlaubnis or the work permit, one typically needs at least the B2 level. And then during the course of one's Berufserlaubnis, one has to expand on one's linguistic skills, not just in terms of communication, but also the medical German needs to be learned. Followed by that will again be the permanent license phase, wherein one, which is called the Approbation, and that is when once you have the Approbation, can you actually practice as a doctor in Germany. From the queries that we get, we know that many Indian scholars aim at doing specialization in Germany, and then the route that would involve will also involve, besides getting this basic Approbation, the fact that they have to go for the specialization training, which typically lasts for 5 to 6 years, depends upon the specialization that you choose, at the end of which one has to appear for an examination and then get a license as a Facharzt or as a specialist. Yeah, a kind of Stilbruch, so a kind of different looking slide that we have here on your screens. This is a person. I'm pretty sure those of you who would have seen the announcement of our webinar on Facebook or other media would be familiar with this face. So this is an Indian MBBS degree holder from the Kasturba Medical College in Manipal, who is currently pursuing his PhD at the Hannover Medical School in Germany and is also preparing for his Approbation or the permanent license as a doctor. He is also a research ambassador of the DAAD, Parth Dabke, and he would be happy to answer your questions. In case you have any, you simply need his email ID, which you can find on our website, or I can share it with you at the end of the presentation. But he today was thinking of joining us, could not. Some emergency duty came up, as I'm sure all of you doctors know that they come up. What he says in terms of how to approach the system, his tips are mentioned here. Maybe once we have Ms. Jenninger's presentation, we can again revisit this. But yes, what he talks about is language. It's extremely important that you need to know the German language. Also, he says you need to be a little patient because you need some time to understand how the system functions. And then his most important message was that PhD directly after MBBS is possible also in Germany. So with this, I will share his contact details with you at the end of the presentation. And I would like to invite Isabel Jenninger to tell us how she and her organization can help you with actually getting the license or on your route to becoming a doctor in Germany as well, in addition to being a doctor in India. Isabel, I'm giving you the presenter rights. So you should be able to see the button that allows you to share your screen, and then you can share your screen and we are waiting to listen to you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Once again, also from my side, I think you should be able to see my screen now. Second. So the keyword was already given a couple of times, Approbation, Berufserlaubnis. As you see, the medical license is extremely important in order to do your specialization and work as a doctor. So this is what I want to explain a little further. First of all, to understand the medical specialization a little better, the medical specialization in Germany is fundamentally different than it is structured in India. The first thing is you can select your specialization out of around 40 specializations. It takes 5 to 6 years, depending on which specialization you choose. And you see a key difference over here. The medical specialization is not taught at a university, but it is a practical training that happens at a university hospital or at a clinic that has the rights of training specialty doctors. While you are doing your specialization, You are a salaried doctor, so you are employed by the university clinic or the clinic as an assistant doctor. In German, that is called Assistenzarzt or Weiterbildungsassistent. In case you're not that familiar with the German terms yet, this is really important to remember in case you are looking for a job later or you're searching these positions. So maybe you might want to take a minute to just scribbling down this term in German. While you are working as an assistant doctor in the practical training, you have to work through a defined catalog of tasks. Basically, these are your learning targets, which you have to achieve within these 5 to 6 years. And at the end of this training period, you have a final exam, which, once you pass it, makes you a specialty doctor, a Facharzt. You're not allowed with an MD to call yourself a specialty doctor. That is because of the different systems between India and Germany, as you have already seen. Okay, so much for what the structure looks like. Now, in order to be eligible to apply for a specialty doctor position or training, you need a completed MBBS from a recognized university. Recognition of a university in Germany is crucial because if your university is not recognized by a state authority in India, such as the UGC, your Germany cannot get recognized in Germany because it's assumed that the university does not exist or it's not a proper university. You can check the recognition status of your university at a database that is called ANABIN. I can share the details with you later. Further, you need to have a clear criminal record and you need to have a health certificate. So anything that would make you non-eligible to be a doctor obviously would prevent you from doing this. And finally, as Aditi already mentioned, you need German language skills at least at level B2 once you get your permanent license, even higher. This is the last point. You need a permanent license in order to start your specialization. If you don't have a permanent license yet, you cannot start the training. So how do you get this Approbation? The first step, of course, is that you apply. The authority at which you apply for your permanent license depends on where you want to do your residency. Once the permanent license is issued, it is valid across all Germany. However, for the beginning, you can only apply in the same state where you want to do your specialization. The first step, what they do after you've submitted all your documents, is that they do an equivalence assessment. So they take your medical degree, they compare it with the German structure, and then they assess if your qualifications at the level of a German Staatsexamen or not. So with an MBBS, usually you receive partial equivalence. So that means that even though there are fundamental differences in the structure of the MBBS and the German medical training, we can still recognize certain parts of it as completed. So, however, having this partial equivalent status has a couple of consequences. The first thing is that you will have to prove adequate medical knowledge by passing a knowledge test. This test consists of a practical and a theoretical part and basically proves that though you've only done your MBBS as compared, which is shorter than the German medical course, you still have adequate knowledge. However, it can be from anything that was taught during the German medical training. So it does make sense to sign up for a preparatory course, also offered by the same state in which you would be doing your knowledge test. The second thing is that you have to prove medical language skills, and that at a level of C1. So you need general language skills of B2 in order to be eligible. And then you need to prove that your medical terminology that you understand is at C1, so the next higher level. Even here, you can have a preparatory course. Finally, there are a couple of other documents, as I already mentioned, like the certificate of good standing, your health certificate, you need to submit a CV, etc., etc. And once everything is cleared, you've cleared the knowledge test, you've cleared the medical language test, everything else is fine, you will get your permanent medical license, the Approbation. Now, however, Aditi already mentioned it, with that partial equivalence, you can also get a Berufserlaubnis for now, a temporary license. This Berufserlaubnis is valid for 2 years. You can work in jobs where someone is supervising you. And that's the big difference with Approbation, it is only valid in one state. So for 2 years, you can only work in the same state. Okay, now you have your permanent license. What's the next step? You obviously need to find vacancies. In order to find these positions as an assistant doctor, for once you can check the website of university clinics. Here, this link that I've given you shows an overview of university clinics in Germany, so you can approach them. You can also check the Federal Employment Agency. If you go to jobbörse.arbeitsagentur.de, that's the database, the job portal of the Federal Employment Agency, you can just enter this term, Assistenzarzt or Weiterbildungsassistent, the two phrases that I had mentioned earlier, and you will find different positions across Germany. You can also go to the Deutsche Ärzteblatt, that would be a magazine for German doctors. They also have a job portal specialized for doctor positions. Or you check at the State Chamber of Physicians. So if you want to work in Berlin, you check with the Berlin Chamber of Physicians. If you want to work in Bavaria, you check at the Bavarian Chamber of Physicians, etc. Right? And finally, you of course can send a speculative application to any university or clinic that has the right of training doctors. So university clinics, or if you're not sure which other clinics are allowed to train, you can just get in touch with the State Chamber of Physicians and they can tell you where you can inquire about training positions. Now, of course, this is quite a complicated process, and ProRecognition can help you out with this. Aditi already gave a quick introduction about ProRec, so I'm also just going to say a few words. What we do is that we consult individuals who are interested in working in Germany on recognition of qualifications, on how to get to Germany, where to find vacancies, how to apply, how to actually successfully make it to Germany. So in this context, how we can help you is that we can consult you on the chances of recognition of your degree by, for example, looking up if your university is recognized, which is the right authority for you to apply, which documents are required, etc. Since it's likely that you will have to undergo a knowledge test and definitely will have to do the language test, we can help you with finding preparatory courses. We can also help you out with finding official translators, because that is really important. Not all translators are accepted by German authorities. You need to go to a translator that is registered and recognized within Germany. And of course, sometimes there's a little bit of a language barrier, so we can help communicate with German authorities. And if you would like to find out more about this service, these are our contact details. You can go on our website, find some overview, you can send us an email, you can always give us a call. And of course, you can also follow us on Facebook to find out about new events. All right, and with this, I'm concluding my part. Aditi, I would request you to take over again.
Right, thank you very much, Isabel, not just for handing it over to me, but for the wonderful information that you gave. I'm pretty sure that what one looks for when one is considering moving abroad for education or so is appropriate guidance and some support, especially since that here we are talking about a different language altogether, also in matters such as getting the certificates translated and so on and so forth. So I'm very sure that something like ProRecognition can go a long way in case of those who do not either come with the language expertise at this stage, because everybody before making a decision, even of learning a certain language, needs to have some more information. Even that is a decision if one thinks of Germany, whether or not I should learn German or not, and then till there, the ProRecognition is there to help them. So thank you very much for the information. And now with that, we've shared with you whatever we had to share with you, dear audience, and the ball is in your court. So now it's up to you to keep or make the webinar interactive. So in case you have any questions, you've already started typing them in, but now is the time also to raise your hands in case you would like to ask any question on your own. And the first hand that I see is Aparna Khurana. Aparna Khurana.
Hello, hello, ma'am.
Hello. Hello.
Ma'am, I am a dentist and I wanted to know if the procedure that you've told is similar for dentists as well.
Yes, Aparna, thanks a lot for your question, because I was browsing through the questions that we have received in the chat window, and there are, it seems, many more dentists amongst us today than I had thought there would be. But yes, the names of the organizations or the bodies change, obviously, because then medicine education or medicine practice and human medicine practice, they come under different organizations, yes, but all said and done, the procedure more or less is similar.
Okay, ma'am. Scholarship. Ma'am, also you were talking about some scholarships for these research courses and everything. Is it there are some research courses related to dentistry as well, or something like that?
Well, again, a good question, because we very proudly say that DAD happens to be the world's largest scholarship organization. However, I have to admit that we don't have scholarships for everyone and for everything that one needs. Our scholarships are rather research focused. So our scholarships are typically for PhDs, either part of one's PhD or for a full PhD.
So, ma'am, like you were, ma'am, you were telling that there are few courses and there are few researches that are going on. So I wanted to know if for specializing in, especially for dentistry, are there any, like there is medicinal research, translational research, and similar. There are related to dentistry as well. Some research are there that are going on that are for dentists or are especially for dental fraternity.
Well, once again, I come back to what I was saying. When we say that our scholarships are for research, we do not make any distinction between subject fields. So if it is a PhD that you want to do or part of your PhD, then whether you're a dentist or a zoologist or a philosophy student, to the DAD, it is all one and the same. So it's in principle open for all subject fields. But then if it is for a training that you want to go, then we unfortunately do not have any scholarships that would suit you.
Okay.
Having said that, Aparna, I must add another point here, that DAAD is not the only funding organization around.
Okay.
So there are many other funding organizations as well. If you try funding-guide.de, then that has a complete database that we have created of all the regularly offered scholarships that exist for German institutions and organizations.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks to you too, Aparna, and your mate also, who's there and seems to have a lot of questions. It's really appreciated.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Yeah, anyone else with questions? I see Anuradha Alvis. Anuradha Alvis?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm from Colombo, Sri Lanka, and I'm already engaged in a postgraduate training program in Sri Lanka. I'm a resident in surgery. And as a part of my training, after finishing the residency, when I became a senior resident, I have to complete my training abroad. And I would like to know that, can I do this in Germany? And if I am to settle in Germany, will my training in Sri Lanka will be accepted?
Isabel, would you like to take this over, or should I?
Yes, I'll try. I have to admit that I'm not fully aware of the Sri Lankan system, because for ProRecognition we are more specialized on India. However, the important thing is that your duration is similar to the German system. So if you, just tell me, how long is your specialization in years?
As a resident, I have 3 years and 2 months, and as a senior resident, it depends on the subspecialty I choose. For an example, if I choose plastic surgery, it's another added 4 years, so it's about 6 to 7 years, let's say.
Okay, so in general, what would happen is that you can any which ways not get your you cannot get your specialization recognized directly in Germany. So in order to get your specialization recognized, you first need to have an Approbation. So in your case, it would be a two-step process where the first step already would give you quite a clear idea of what the recognition status of your specialization of your residency is. So chances are that if you do your first specialization of 3 years, you've mentioned, right, that you have good chances of getting a full recognition for your basic medical studies. So you would have the Approbation, and then with the other 6 to 7 years of further specialization, you might get that recognized in Germany. However, as I said, since I'm not fully familiar with the Sri Lankan system, I can't tell you 100% confidently.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, if I'm to make a correction, that my basic medical degree, that means MBBS, lasts 5 years plus 1 year of internship in internal medicine and surgery. And apart from that, yes, my specialization program, like what you call this, as similar to Germany, it takes about maybe even more than 6 years, depending on specialty. Is there anyone, like any organization that I can contact and find out details about the eligibility for a Sri Lankan graduate?
Well, it depends on where you want to go in Germany. Oh, I'm sorry, Aditi, I interrupted.
No, please. You were saying exactly what I was saying, so go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. So if you already have an idea of where you want to go in Germany, then it's also a good idea to check directly with the respective authority who does the recognition. They can give you, in general, a good idea. However, it's also a little difficult with them to get general answers or general answers to general inquiries, because at the moment there are a lot of cases of recognition in Germany. So we are experiencing in Germany right now that a lot of people are interested in working as a doctor, which is why the whole recognition procedure takes longer than it usually should. And it might be that general inquiries might take some time to get answered. But I think speaking directly to the respective authority is always a good idea, and that we can help you out with.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Right, thank you, Anuradha. Let me just take a question or two from the questions that have got typed here. I have a question from Azim Gulzar asking, do I have to clear my German language test before getting the learner's license, or can I clear it with my training?
Aditi, I would also take this over if you're fine.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So if you want to get your permanent license, it is required that you have your B2 level already. On top of this, you will also need your degree, of course, with all mark sheets. You also need a certificate of good standing, a health certificate, etc. However, it's not a multiple-step process as the permanent license would be. The only difference is that you don't have to get the technical language skill yet and not yet the knowledge test. The rest remains more or less the same. So B2 will be mandatory at this step already that you're applying.
Right, hope that answers your question, Azim. Yeah, then I would like to take another audio question from Suraj Polubotu. Suraj Polubotu.
Hello.
Hello.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
My name is Dr. Suraj, and I've done my MBBS from Mumbai. And I'm very interested in pursuing post-graduation in Germany. Over this couple of months, I've reached A2 language in German. And my question is, to further reach the level of B2 or C1, would it be better to actually go to Germany and learn the language, or is it fine to do it in India itself?
If you've already done the A2, I would say, Suraj, that you're just about 2 courses away. So it would not make much of a difference if you learn it here or in Germany. Of course, with Germany, the obvious advantages are that you are in a German-speaking zone practically. So you have German all around you, whereas if you learn it in India, then you would be attending courses, programs. So it would be limited. However, that is entirely up to you. Visa can always be another of the concerns.
Yes, that was my other
language.
question actually.
Yeah.
With the visa, I think A2 wouldn't be a problem, but is there any job opportunity or something that in the meantime I'm able to do in Germany with A2?
I am not sure what kind of job you're referring to, because ideally
As
going
in
there.
hospitation.
So the situation is that in order to be eligible to work in Germany, you need to have a degree that qualifies you. If you have an MBBS, you cannot do a job in a different area. So like, for example, you cannot work as a bartender. In this case, I would, any which ways with A2, the job opportunities are limited. So I would suggest rather first focus on learning the language and then look out for your medical license.
Yes, but hospitation will be possible, right? Not as a job, just as for work experience.
See, right now what I understand is, Suraj, you without the language and without the temporary license, as we referred to during this webinar, you will not really be able to do anything. So,
okay.
When you think of it in that sense, then that it's already difficult. So in terms of work and therefore earning, that's already extremely difficult, and you won't even have the temporary license. The temporary license itself will necessitate something like an A2 level of German language proficiency.
Right, so language is the most important.
Language is important, yeah.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you so much.
Right, and all the best.
Thank you.
Then I'm trying to look for another question that we've received typing. There are various questions. One question that's repeatedly coming is language requirements for the temporary license. I think we've answered that sufficiently. Asifa Ahmed asks, where can I get to know if my university is recognized in Germany or not? anabin.de, anabin.de. That would be the website. So just remember it. We'll also type it for all, and we are sending across the link, so you can note it down from there. Yeah, then another question from Asfia and maybe Isabel. I would like to request you to take this question over. She asks, is the working with a Berufserlaubnis, that is before the Approbation, paid or unpaid?
That is also paid. You are already allowed to work as a proper employee. The only thing is that you cannot take any decisions on your own. So you cannot give a prescription to a patient. That would have to happen under supervision. However, everything else is relatively similar to a permanent license. So yes, you can already work.
Yeah, I mean, the words that we've chosen, they might sound a bit humorous, the temporary and the permanent license. Just imagine what you do with your driving licenses. So with a temporary one, you can do everything, but typically if it's a four-wheeler, then in guidance, under guidance with the L board, And with a permanent license, you are completely on your own and you can independently practice and make decisions that are going to benefit your patient. Now we move to an audio question. Usman Islam.
Hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am, I have a question. I am from Pakistan and I did my MBBS from China, and I haven't passed the license exam here in Pakistan. So I want to know that if I can apply for Germany without getting the license exam of Pakistan. Is it possible?
Aditi, do you mind if I take this over?
No, I was going to suggest you to do that, please.
Okay,
I'm
great.
sure
So
even
in
from
the
India,
end,
we get...
whether you have a Pakistani license or not is not relevant in this sense, because you acquired your qualification from China. So what is important is that your university in China is recognized in Germany and that you can check on the link ANABIN. Okay, so that would be the first requirement. Now, however, the question is, did you, with completion of the MBBS, also get a license that qualifies you to practice in China?
No.
Okay, so that might be an issue. Once again, because it's not India, I'm not 100% confident, but I know usually that if you have to, or if you want to apply for a license in Germany, you also need to submit a registration from the issuing country.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is something that we can once again check with the respective authority.
Okay. And how about if I want to do a PhD after MBBS? Do I need to pass the license exam or I just directly can apply? For PhD after MBBS?
Aditi, I think that is something that you might be able to answer better.
Yeah, sure. When you decide to do a PhD, there are different... So when you think of a PhD, what you're basically doing is research. Now, even medical doctors or those who are trained to be doctors, they do different kinds of research. There are research fields wherein you need to deal with patients. And then there are subject fields where you don't really need to deal with patients. So wherever this involvement with patients is concerned, then you need to have the licenses in place. Wherever you are going to do a pure play theoretical or lab-based research which does not involve any patients, then you can do it even without the licenses.
And how about the language requirement for PhD?
Again, I mean, it depends upon what exactly you would like to research on.
Okay. If it is non-clinical, then what will be the requirement?
Then typically you would not necessarily need the language.
Okay. And one more question, that if I apply for PhD in non-clinical program, can I apply for license exam later on to get the license along with the PhD program?
Yes, it is possible. In principle, it is possible. In fact, that is what this young ambassador, the testimonial that we shared with you, is doing. He completed his MBBS. He is now doing his PhD, and at the same time, he is working towards his license as well.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
If I may quickly add something in terms of the Chinese MBBS, ProRecognition also has a specialist in China. If you message me, I can just connect you to her, so maybe she has better insights.
Okay, madam, sure. Madam, can you refer me to... Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Madam, can you refer me or tell me the website where I can find the list of the universities which are recognized by the government of Germany?
I've just shared the link with everybody.
Okay, okay.
Yeah?
Okay, madam.
Okay. We have many more questions, and I think audio alone will take care of all the time that we have been given for this webinar. So without wasting much time, I'm unmuting Zain Ali Khan.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I want to ask that I'm from Pakistan and I did my MBBS from here. So I want to ask how much time does it take to complete a preparatory course in for language before approbation?
Well, that depends on the kind of course that you choose. I think there are courses that go over multiple months. There are also intensive courses that have a shorter duration. So that really depends. However, the important thing in order to be eligible for such a preparatory language course is that you have already applied for approbation, so that you have a letter that states that it is necessary for you to do the language test. And that you already have general language skills at B2 level.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I move on to the next question from Ruchira Sawant. Ruchira Sawant.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Hello.
May I have you? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, you're audible, Ruchira Sawant. May I have your question, please? Ruchira Sawant, are you able to hear us?
No, there's some problem, I guess.
Well, we can hear you all right, so just shoot. Just give us your question.
So I would like to ask, is there any procedure like for the temporary license thing?
Yes, there is a procedure. Once again, it depends on where you want to get your medical license from. So in which state you want to work. Then the first step would basically be that you submit all documents. As I already mentioned, your degree with all mark sheets, certificate of good standing, certificate of health, general language skills, etc., etc. And then this is evaluated and they're giving the temporary medical license. So it is a one-step process. But which documents exactly are required depends on where you are applying. So that always makes sense to really only check once you are clear where you want to apply. But it's only a single-step process as compared to the approbation.
Okay, so there are any language requirements for that, like I have to complete B1 or B2 for it?
Yes, you need to complete B2. That is the requirement before you can apply for a temporary license. You see, the background is always that you need to be able to pass the medical language test within 2 years. If you have German language skills below B2, it will be very difficult to do. So this is why general language skills of B2 should really be there.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah, this was a 1 hour-long webinar, so it should have got over 3 minutes ago, but then given the interest, if it's okay with you, Isabel, maybe take last 3 questions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So the next person I'm unmuting is Ramasubbu Prabhu. Ramasubbu Prabhu. Seems we've lost him. Rachit Singh.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, first of all, this is my name is Rachit and I'm a dentist. Thanks to Aparna, I have a lot of queries that have been cleared up. And but I have certain questions, and to be blunt and quick, I would like to ask, is the lateral entry preferable, or is starting from phase 1 better for a student that wants to perhaps practice later on, as Zahnarzt in Germany?
Well, in terms of better or not, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. But then once you get your approbation, then you are going to be at par. So it's just considering what all you have studied in Germany, what what you've studied in India. The German authorities say that by default you've already arrived at a certain level.
Right.
So whatever you will be taught will be after that, so beyond that level. So I personally would not see a reason why you would want to start from the beginning when you already have a degree in your hand.
Right, but it also includes a part where you need to be accepted into universities. So if is it a common notion for people to get accepted into as the lateral entry, or are them as an applicant, would I have more chances of getting into a university starting from phase 1, or as a lateral entry?
Well, getting into a university for one's medical or dentistry studies is extremely difficult even in Germany.
I understand that, yes.
So I would suggest, and my recommendation would be, Isabel, please correct me if I'm wrong, that if he already has his BDS in place, then the ideal thing would actually be to go in for the lateral entry and then get a temporary license of sorts and work towards an approbation.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Right,
All
that
right,
answers
Rachit?
it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks. The next I unmute is Muhammad Umar Gill.
Yeah, hello. My name is Umar and I'm talking from Pakistan. I'm currently studying for my USMLE exams. I've passed my MBBS and completed my 1-year internship from Karachi, Pakistan. My question to you is that will passing my USMLE exams be of any help when I apply for a residency in Germany? Like, would it give me some added benefit?
Well, the important thing is whatever you have learned in your degree. No test is gonna give you a stronger or weaker position, actually. So in this case, I would assume no, but I'm not 100% sure because I didn't have such a case, to be honest. However, the procedure is really that they just look at your medical experience and your degree. That is what counts.
All right, one more question. If I've completed my residency from Pakistan, for instance, I've done my residency in, let's say, radiology, and I want to do a super specialty, for instance, if I want to further do interventional radiology. So can I do a super specialty or a super fellowship from Germany while having done my primary or basic residency from Pakistan? Or would I have to do all the process all over again?
Well, the thing is that any which ways you would first need your approbation, right? A super specialization is pretty much already on the level of a Facharzt because of the different structures, right? I assume that the system in Pakistan is similar to the one in India. Am I correct about that?
Yes, it's very similar.
All right. So in this case, if you've done your specialization in Pakistan, it will most likely give you better chances of receiving a full recognition for the basic medical training in Germany, for getting an approbation, so that you can then start with your specialization in Germany. Right? Because the thing is that a Staatsexamen in Germany would pretty much already be on a level of an MD. So if you translate that, then it would be the super specialization. Aditi, correct me if I'm incorrect here.
No, that is correct, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the best.
Thank you.
So that we are down with 2 questions. So this is the last question that we take. We have Ujjwala Malvankar here with us. Ujjwala Malvankar, could you please check? You seem to have muted yourself, so kindly unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yeah, you're unmuted. Yes, please.
First, I would like to thank you for the very informative webinar. My question is, I have been meeting a lot of doctors who are doing test staff examination, and I met some of them in Germany, and they happen to say that medizinische Fachsprache becomes very easy for them since they have done test staff. So what is your say about it?
Well, to be honest, I don't have any experience with this particular case. It might be if you've already learned particular phrases, that it will benefit you in picking up the German terminology. That might just as well be. However, it doesn't mean that you can skip the language test, etc. It might just be a facilitator.
Test staff is a language examination, which is the highest language examination. Test of Deutsch als Fremdsprache, where one studies more than C1 level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it might be helpful because the, as I said, it can be a facilitator, but in the end, what is going to be tested is also basically if you understand certain medical terms, the way that you would talk in a hospital. If you speak to a client, a patient about his problems, certain diseases, if you discuss with other doctors, can you understand that? So I guess in this case, it can be helpful, but it will not be that you can skip the language test, and you would still mandatorily have to appear for a language test.
The language test called as medizinische Fachspracheprüfung.
Exactly.
Ah, great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Right, with this, we come to an end of our session. I can already see Azim Gulzar, you're saying, please unmute me, which we cannot unfortunately do at this point of time. But if you see your answer field, then we have shared important details with you. So we have shared the link to the ANABIN, from where you can find out the recognition of your university, from where you've got the degree in the German context. We've shared the contact details of the DAD Young Ambassador Parth Dabke, who is a medical doctor who graduated from the Manipal University and is currently at the Hanover Medical School doing his PhD and also working on his licenses. And we have shared the contact details of ProRecognition, so Ms. Isabel Jeninger, whom you can get in touch with in case of any further questions.
Of course, you can also send an email to recognition@indogerman.com. Then also my colleague will be able to answer you just in case that we're having events, etc. So with this, you'll also have a quick response rate.
Isabel, is that indo-german.com like in your email ID?
Exactly.
Fine. So
that's
even
correct.
this ID that Ms. Jeninger just shared with us is with you now in your answer field.
Thank you, Aditi.
You're welcome. Right. So with this, we come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for taking the time out and being with us. It seldom happens that the number of people that come, it hardly reduces at the end of the webinar, and that has happened here. That clearly shows the interest, which we greatly appreciate, and we will strive to make more information available for you in this regard. I'm getting suddenly a number of messages saying that the links are not visible. So I'm taking half a minute more to post the details all over again, hoping that they then reach everybody. So the last thing that I sent was the link recognition@indogerman.com, followed by Isabel Jeninger's contact details, followed by Young Ambassador Parth Dabke's contact details, followed by the ANABIN web link. Yeah, And then what we will also do is the presentation that I shared with you, we will make it available on our website under the download section with all these links and addresses that you think would be important for you. That should be in place by tomorrow afternoon. I hope that helps. Thank you very much, Isabel, and thank you very much all our participants for joining us today. It was wonderful being with you. All the best for whatever path of career that you choose.